they're finally getting round to removing 44,000 tonnes of silt from Peel Marina. It's going to happen next week. And Tim Baker MHK, the Aaron Michael MHK, is member of the Department for Infrastructure with responsibility for port and also chairman of the Peel Marina Project Board. Live on Manx Radio, Tim Baker. Good evening.
Good evening, Andy.
Good evening. So, why has it taken this long to get to it?
It's taken an awful long time. It's been very, very challenging to work out what the right solution was from both a technical, environmental and a financial perspective. And it's an incredibly complex situation because of the nature of the silt. The contaminants that are in there, particularly the heavy metals, which are largely a legacy of the island's mining.
Okay, that's coming down from Snuff the Wind in Foxdale and what have you.
It is particularly zinc and lead from Snuff the Wind and other mining legacy areas.
Okay,
yeah.
For the layperson, other people may know the answer to this, but why is it a bad idea to have that sort of heavy metal knocking around? It's been there forever, since the mines were opened.
Well, yes, and it ends up in the silt, and effectively then it becomes contaminated, and we're in a situation where under international conventions, particularly OSPAR, you can't then dispose of that to sea. It's seen as contaminated material, and environmental management practices now are much more stringent, quite rightly so, than they were years ago, and a combination of that heavy metal contamination, some of the other things that are in there, meant that it needed some very, very careful consideration of what to do with this, and we had to make sure we're getting best value for money as well as deal with the environmental issues.
So it starts Monday. Who's doing the work?
So we've got a contractor called Land and Water Services who are the prime contractor that have been appointed, and they will start on Monday working on the field at the back of the power station in Peel to create the drainage lagoon, and that's going to take a couple of months, and once that's done, the silt will start being extracted from the marina, transported up to that that lagoon, where it will dewater, effectively dry out, before it will be ultimately taken on to its final destination.
Which is where?
It's Turkeyland's quarry in Maloo, which is an existing waste disposal site, and there's that's obviously subject to planning, a planning process, but there's a planning process to develop a strategic waste facility at Turkeyland's alongside some of the other waste disposal activity that goes on there at the moment.
As the chairman of the board, as the man in charge, are you happy with the way things are going?
Absolutely, I'm absolutely delighted that we finally got to a solution.
It is a bit late, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, I've challenged the team. We've been at this month on month since May 2017, which is most of the time I've been in a member of Tynwald, and it's a simple enough problem to identify. There was too much silt and not enough water in Peel Marina. The solution was harder to develop, and the absolute key to it is to separate the dredging activity from the ultimate disposal. We felt as though we'd got there the early part of last year, but as we fine-tuned some of the detail and looked at the costs, what we'd come up with was becoming quite expensive, and we needed to look again at that. And yeah, I'm frustrated that it's taken this long, but delighted that actually now we're getting on with the solution. Which is
how long do you think it'll be before the boats aren't bouncing on the bottom in Peel?
Well, we're going to start dredging in March, and there's going to be a couple of months. We've got a dredging window which runs effectively up until the start of the TT period, by which time we'll have pretty much filled the lagoon. The dredging will stop then, and the silt will be dewatering over the summer and autumn period. So the short answer to your question is, once that dredging has been done, effectively that will significantly transform the situation in the Peel Marina.
And when will it be finished?
So we're going to have two dredging campaigns. The first dredging campaign, as I say, March to May this year. and subject to the planning process that I've just talked about around Turkey lands, the second campaign will run from very early next year for a couple of months, and that will be the whole marina fully dredged back to published depths, and the issue of the sedimentation in Peel Marina will have been resolved.
Until the next time, how long do you think that'll take?
So the next time, by which I'm interpreting that we'd need to repeat the same exercise again, that's not the vision that we've got. What we've got is a phase 2 to this project, which basically tries to deal with the problem at source, and to ensure that we have many more options available to us going forward, and ideally that we can just do the maintenance dredging that you would normally do in any of the other harbours and marinas on the island. So that work is underway at the moment. We're working with both DEFRA and the MUA. Some of that's about stopping problems at source. Some of it's about looking at maybe other engineering solutions, and we will come forward with a game plan that will mean that we shouldn't have to repeat this same exercise again in 7 or 8 years, which would be probably over a 7 or 8 year period. You would get probably about 2/3 of what we've got in the marina at the moment. So,
can you tell the public how much this is going to cost?
Off the top of my head, no. But what I can say is that
5 million, 10 million.
It's going to be closer to the bottom figure that you've just mentioned there. What I can say is that this has been heavily scrutinised by Treasury, as you would expect, and they were convinced that this was the best value for the public purse. We've had expertise in from the UK, including an organisation called CFAS, who are acknowledged experts in these sort of issues. We've had an engineering consultancy looking at the value for money. We've had people looking at the technical solution. This has had so much scrutiny to get to this stage that it is the best. It is the best outcome that we could possibly achieve. The only alternative to making this investment was to close the Peel Marina, which would have had traumatic implications for Peel itself.